What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Meaning of Podcast. I am Ace.
This is RB3.
And this is another episode where we talk about our favorite filmmakers' films. However, this episode is going to be slightly different, guys. So for the vast majority of this episode, we're going to be taking your questions. However, we're going to also talk about the Oscars. Happy Oscar nomination day. We just finally saw the nominees for the Oscars.
Hey.
There's a lot of stuff that is...
surprises.
We expected
some snubs,
but some we expected as well.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a feeling that this Oscar is not going to be as shocking as other Oscars have been. I just have that feeling. I don't know, because I feel like all the winners we've had have been the same winners over and over again. But if anything is going to be surprising, it might be Best Picture for that. But
yeah.
We'll see. But guys, we're not going to be talking about the nominees. However, we're going to be talking about the Oscars as a whole. I have a few questions lined up for Mr. RB3. I'm going to grill RB3 on Oscar stuff, and I want to make him answer some difficult questions about the Oscars. But before we do that, guys, we want to be reading your comments from our last episode, which was our top 10 movies of 2017. We love reading your comments, guys, so make sure you leave us comments every week in the comment section. That's probably the best way you can support us, and that's another way you can actually be featured on the show, because we will butcher your name as we attempt to pronounce it and mispronounce it heavily, starting with Mr. Brian Useguera, which is probably a horrible mispronunciation of your name. Who says, I agree with Ace about Wind River. Jeremy Renner is super underrated and he deserves more recognition. Keep up the great work, guys. You actually were the ones that mainly talked about Renner, because I know you said he's a great actor who doesn't get a lot of recognition.
He doesn't. And, I was just talking to somebody today. He used to be a makeup artist before he was an actor?
No.
Yeah, he did. Amazing. Yeah, he used to do like a lot of little odd jobs around Hollywood.
That's cool. Yeah, odd jobs, yeah, but makeup artist, really? Jeremy Renner?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Now he's Jason Bourne or whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's not Jason Bourne. He's like, I don't know, Jimmy Bourne or something. He's like a different.
I didn't see that one.
So. Yeah, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I just know that they were talking about putting Matt Damon and him in the same movie.
Yeah, that would have been dope. I would have. It
would have been dope. Yeah, for sure.
The new stuff is gone now, apparently, though, right? Even Damon is
probably. His last movie didn't do great.
Yeah, it was kind of awful too. So
I had to be honest, I'm not a Bourne guy. I'm a Bond guy all the way.
Yeah,
I'm a hardcore Bond fan. So for me, it's like everyone was going off about the Bourne movies, and I'm like, bro, Daniel Craig killing it though.
Yeah, Daniel Craig was doing it, and Mission Impossible at the same time. Like, Tom Cruise,
and in Bourne, Renner's in that too. Mission Impossible.
Yeah. He was gonna take over for Tom Cruise, and then that just fell through too.
Well, Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like Renner. He got a lot of attention for the Ben Affleck movie he did. What was that movie
called?
The Town. That's a great movie.
Got Oscar nomination for that.
Yeah, so he got a lot of attention for that movie, but recently he hasn't gotten a lot of attention for anything else since he became Hawkeye, I guess.
Yeah.
Because ever since he became Hawkeye, he's kind of been just like, Hawkeye, hey, that's Hawkeye. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, he's definitely taking the time to do like more independent stuff, and that's why we get something like Wind River, because he's taking those big checks and do something on the side for some, like that. I think it's funny though, he, nobody talks about this, but he was in 2 episodes of Louis. Yeah, I know Louis C.K. is, controversial now, but but no, he was in 2 episodes of that did not feature Louis C.K. and it was like a backstory episode, like it was really crazy, but he was excellent in that. It was like a 2-part special of Louis. You can't find it now because they took them all off Netflix.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
They took all of Louis C.K.'s comedy, everything off of Netflix.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And House of Cards is still up there, right?
House of Cards is still there. Yeah, but that's their flagship show.
Yeah, I guess. JP Biller says, shout out to Ace for including Thor Ragnarok. Definitely a top 10 movie of 2017. 100% agree, JP. It is a top 10 movie. In fact, it's a top 5 movie. I put it at my number 4 because I loved it so much. If you guys want to check out our list, go ahead and check that out too. If you haven't, please do, because our top 10 list is pretty solid, if I had to say. In fact, I'd say it's pretty excellent, because we have a lot of good movies in there, including Thor Ragnarok.
Hey, you had Thor Ragnarok. Not me necessarily.
But I still think it's great.
No hate towards the movie, but
in fact, love towards the movie. Gunslinger 199 says, I watched Your Name. It was amazing. Thank you for watching that. That movie is incredible. I keep recommending it. I had a little back and forth with people talking to me about 2016 versus 2017. I prefaced it by saying it was a 2016 movie. However, it got a 2017 U.S. release date, which then makes it a 2017 movie for me personally. So I don't know. For me, it's a 2017 movie because I saw it in 2017. So whatever.
Yeah.
However, you should go watch Your Name. It's a great movie, and I recommend anyone who watches any type of cool sci-fi movie, that's a kind of movie you want to watch. It isn't just a cutesy anime movie, because I'm not really into cutesy anime anyways. So go watch the movie RB3.
Yeah, I gotta check it out still.
Oh,
so many people has been tweeting us this week about Your Name. I really should take the time out.
Dude, yeah, it's a great freaking. I have it. I can give it to you.
Yeah.
I can just let you borrow it if you want it.
Yeah,
I'll let you borrow it and you won't watch it.
Yeah, that's my thing.
Yeah,
like, yeah. See,
I know you won't. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't want to give it to RB3. You're not even gonna watch it.
You know me too well.
Yeah, I know.
Me too well.
Joe McKinn says the only list Blade Runner 2049 belongs on is the overrated list of movies of 2017.
Thank you. Yes, finally.
I highly disagree, man.
Somebody speaking the truth.
I disagree, Mr. Joe McKim. But you have RB3 on your side who says that he agrees with you.
Yeah.
So Elijah Yates says, so glad to finally hear anyone talk about Loving Vincent, even if it's just an honorable mention. That was you. You mentioned that.
Loving Vincent. Yeah, great. Again, story maybe not whatever. It's whatever, but the visuals and just for what they're going for, it's really amazing.
Yeah. Radical Mayhem says, love this podcast. I hope it sticks around for the years to come. What makes you think it won't stick around? No, I'm just kidding.
We're just gonna grow out of a podcast.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We stopped podcasting after 20 episodes in. It's the shortest podcast ever.
Yeah. We're gonna at least make it to 100, everybody. At least to 100.
Hey, 100? No, I'm playing. Yeah. We'll definitely make it to 100. Yeah. Sasha Lawrence says, Ace and RB3, love you guys. Excited to see another episode of the best podcast on the SK Plus channel.
Thank you, Sasha.
Hey, man.
We really appreciate that.
Tony Wagner says, you guys have to see Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's going to win Best Picture at the Oscars, and it's, in my opinion, the best film of the year. We just talked about this.
Yeah.
Because we both haven't seen Three Billboards. We still haven't seen Three Billboards. Eventually, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, at this point, that movie, man, it's winning so many awards at, SAG, Golden Globes. It's being nominated for everything. A lot of people have it, as a front runner for Best Picture. And how I just, every time I see that trailer, I'm like, I want to watch The Post. Or I'm going to go watch The Greatest Showman. But I just don't feel like watching Three Billboards. I hear it's great, but we'll get to it, right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Did you watch the Red Band trailer or just the Green Band?
I saw the Green Band trailer.
Yeah, apparently the Red Band
it's better.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch any trailers for it, just so I'm trying to go in clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's Copster does that a lot for the big budget stuff.
Yeah,
I don't really do that for Star Wars or whatever, but for indie movies that don't really show trailers in front of theaters, I completely stay away from them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's I just seen that trailer and I'm like, ugh, I don't know. It's just a bunch of. Never mind, I'm not going to say it. But for me, it just looks kind of boring. But I'll watch it eventually because I still have time before the Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
As long as I see it before the Oscars, I'm good to go. Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot, guys, for sending in those comments. We are reading them every week, and we're going to be reading more of yours this week with questions. We put out a Q&A post on Twitter and on Schmoville's a little bit ago, so we're going to be reading those questions from you guys. But before we do, we want to talk about the Oscars. So we just heard the nominees came in. Again, some snubs, some surprises, but mainly everything I expected, at least for me personally. But I want to talk about a different aspect of the Oscars. I don't want to talk about the films. I don't want to talk about the nominees. I want to talk about the relevancy of the Oscars. And I want to talk about the ratings of the Oscars. So I don't know if you know, but last year they announced that the Oscars ratings every year has been going steadily down and down and down and down, especially in the 18 to 40 demographic, the younger people. And I kind of want to hear your opinion, RB3, about the Oscars as a whole, because I feel like sometimes the Oscars has a tendency to be very living in their bubble, I guess you could say. They're very much stuck in their own bubble, stuck in what they view, what what they view the correct film should be nominated, and the kinds of films that get nominated, and they kind of exclude a larger audience because of that. Sometimes people usually watch the Oscars out of curiosity, but don't really watch it for seeing who's going to win because they haven't seen those movies, aka me with Three Billboards, right? That's an example of people who might not be interested in seeing that movie, or just haven't got the chance to, or just it never showed up in their theater. So I'm curious what you think the issue with the ratings are, because it is an issue. I mean, the fact is, if I'm a ABC head of ABC Studios, Walt Disney, and I see the Oscars going down and down and down, I can't think to myself that it's the correct method to keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. If I want to raise the ratings of a very old, prestigious Hollywood show, how do I go about doing that? What is the issue that makes the Oscars go down in ratings, and what is it that they can do to change that aspect?
First of all, Oscars are too long. They're too long, right? If the award show is 4 hours. Listen, when you have something like the Grammys, right? The Grammys are coming out or are happening tomorrow, or I'm sorry, on Monday. So they have, so with the Grammys, it's a longer show, but they fill it up with as many musical performances as possible, which makes sense because it's the Grammys. You're dressing it with music, you're celebrating music. With film, we're celebrating film, right? So a lot of times in doing that celebration, they stick to the traditional ways award shows are set up, with the monologue to the, from the monologue to the live performances to the montage and all that stuff. Unfortunately, because they're such a long award show, they don't really have the kind of energy to keep it lively in the same way that a Grammys would, where you could keep the music going and keep everybody entertained, at least for different audiences. But now, especially now that we're living in this age of digital media and social media, where people expect information just like that quick, we're not patient to wait for an excessive amount of time for that kind of...
It's funny you mentioned that. Last year's Oscars clocked in at 3 hours and 50 minutes, almost 4 hours.
Yeah, and that's what the whole
I think it's the longest ever. I might be wrong, but I think it's one of the longest Oscars ever.
Yeah.
Last year. Yeah. This wasn't 30 years ago. This was last year.
No, and it's a problem. And I think, I feel like they could solve this. There are solutions to this. They could consolidate a lot of the categories and kind of a more smoother transitional way. But I think they also,
do you think they should read all the categories in the nominee? Do you think, animated short film or something like that, or short doc?
You know what was nice. When I remember watching the Oscars when I was little, what they would do is for the bigger categories like screenplay and all that stuff, they would put that they would make little packages, the pre recorded packages of all of the nominees, or at least that's what they kind of do now in a sense. But now that adds a lot more time to the Academy Awards, right? Where they add the video, they add the graphics, they add the animation to highlight what movie it is and whatever. I think they should go back to the old way where they just literally have just a list of people and just show all 5 of the names on camera. Or if they're there on camera. The reason why that used to present a lot of problems.
You still have to read their name though, right? And show what they did.
Yeah, but when you have the actual people on camera, it's like a time clicking, right? You don't have, you kind of have to get through the names because these people are live on air. It's like dead air. Now they present it with a lot of flashy stuff, which is nice and which I like, but it adds to overall length of the show. I think you consolidate a lot of the nominees, and then, you can even go with your whole suggestion, cut that in general, because honestly,
you think that's fair to the people who got nominated?
See, that's the thing, though. That's the whole debate, right?
But also then, just to counter your argument for the first one, you said, if I'm a director of an animated short, and think about that category, animated short. How many people have seen that? The only way to show people, a general audience who's watching the Oscars, what that is. Let's say nomination is The Light Show, and it's no one knows what The Light Show is, but if you show a 5-second clip, they're like, oh, that looks really cool. Maybe I'll go check that out. Yeah. Or that looks really cool. That should win, right? You think that's because they don't know what it is. They don't know what The Light Show is, or they don't know what that animated short is. But if they see a visual of it, they might say, "Ooh, that looks cool." Like I know I've done that because I haven't seen every animated short at the Oscars.
Right. No, I mean that's a really good point. You know, actually, you know, promoting. Also, I don't even know why we're presenting the short film categories in the Academy. That was also going to be my next thing. Like,
cut the short film category: short film, short animated short, and short doc.
Yeah, you cut it for the main telecast only because a lot of these movies don't get a mainstream distribution.
Got it.
So nobody.
That's a good point. No one has really seen it unless you live in LA.
Yeah, like or unless it's a Pixar movie nominated.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
unless it's a Pixar movie.
Yeah,
which definitely won't be this. Well. Oh, never mind. I was gonna say Olaf. Shout out to Olaf.
Did you see? I didn't.
Coco was amazing, but that animated Olaf short, man, that was too long.
Oh, that was like a medium, if you will. Yeah. That 23 minutes. I didn't see it in front of my Coco.
Oh my god, I did, and it was torture.
Really?
Oh, it was torture.
Yeah. Well, that's not getting nominated.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, in terms of like shorts. Like I said, they're not getting mainstream. You know, really, those shorts use the opportunities of the Academy to like get seen.
Okay.
But then I also think if you're going to do that, the Academy. I think if you're going to present a short film category, open it up for online distribution to be a possibility. Something that could be published on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that.
That's kind of a cool idea.
Because in that way, you
check out this year's Oscar animated shorts.
Yeah,
on YouTube or something.
Exactly. Or even if they don't want to go that route, I think they should start at least because what the rules are for the Academy and short film submissions is that they can't have already been distributed online or on television.
That's right.
So a lot of times, a lot of these filmmakers who are very confident in their films, whose films have been traveling through the festival circuit nonstop, what they'll do is they'll sell. Some filmmakers will sell it to a distributor on television to make a quick buck and also to get it seen to the general audience, but it doesn't qualify for the awards. Some filmmakers put it out on their own, but again, it doesn't qualify for the awards. And usually the ones that come online are usually the biggest ones that people end up talking about, like David Sandberg, before he directed Lights Out and going to do the Shazam movie, he just put out his short online and it
did well.
Yeah, so a lot of the mainstream directors we see coming now out of short films are coming from putting them out online. So that's also the way to do it. But, the Academy is kind of hindering that possibility for growth and new faces and new memberships because they're having that restriction.
That's a very good point. But also, if I'm playing devil's advocate, which I am, if I'm a festival guy, if I run the Los Angeles Film Festival, or if I run the Las Vegas Film Festival or Moscow Film Festival, those animated shorts that are popping are kind of my selling ticket, right?
Yeah, because that's all bread and butter.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So people go out of their way to come to my festival to watch that, and now you're taking that away from me. That takes away from the festival circuit.
Right. I mean, that makes a lot of sense too.
Yeah. But you're saying it's better to give the filmmaker a bigger audience than it is for a festival to have a small audience, a good 50 to 100 people who've seen it, but those 50 to 100 people aren't enough to make the filmmaker any money or any relevancy.
Right, I think that's the main point I'm getting at is because when something's able to expand and the audience is able to get behind it, that's when I think people start tuning in for ratings. Imagine if, there's so many big YouTubers on the platform and not just like the big stars like Logan Paul or whatever. There's a lot of legitimate filmmakers who are using the platform to tell pretty amazing stories, especially in animated stuff. I mean, today in animated shorts, I just see like randomly pop up on YouTube or whatever. It's like the cream of the crop is happening now. And I think if the Academy was able to celebrate that in a way that people could consume, then you won't have to cut a category. Listen, my whole suggestion, cut it all completely unless you're going to start accepting digital distribution. Because in that way, it's still taking up time in the show, but it's getting people excited. It's getting people something to rally behind. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also Vimeo, too. I don't know.
Vimeo, yes.
Anyone who's a fan of Vimeo, there's a ton of animated shorts on Vimeo.
Oh. Well, Vimeo is like really the filmmaker's like platform. Yeah. YouTube is more trying to get off or trying to get big off of that. But Vimeo is where you find so many incredible shorts. Yeah. So many.
And it's all pretty much like up and coming filmmakers. I know a buddy of mine who worked with me. He was a good friend of mine. and he's an animated film director, and he did a lot of animated shorts like these past 2 years. He's an example of someone who got picked up by a couple festivals, and
Really?
he got his animated short to shown at like a few festivals like all around the world. Like he went to Belgium, he went to like Vegas, he went to like different spots. To because different film festivals are located like everywhere, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And he's an example of someone who would like put his stuff up on Vimeo and is trying to get more attention because that's what he wants to do for a living, right?
Yeah.
And the only way to get attention for that is award attention. Right?
Yeah, it's so tough though because
It's tough because
you're paying money. You're actually paying money to submit your films to these festivals, and not only that, you're paying yourself to go to all these festivals, travel with it, maybe sit in front of a room of 15, 20 people and talk about it, and then you just have to keep moving. But it's also it's a fair point to say it's also getting networking opportunities as well to meet other young up and coming filmmakers going through the film circuit
collaboration.
too. Yeah. So I think that's a positive in the film circle, the film festival circle as well. But I think again, I'm always for more diversification, right? More mediums for more platforms to grow.
Sure.
And I think that especially in this age of digital now, we could really see something special
For those shorts.
Yeah, for those shorts.
Yeah, something else I want to bring up to you is that do you feel like it's such a big dip in ratings? Do you really feel like that's the only issue? What's another issue that you feel like it's the if you had to pick like the real defining factor of why the Oscar ratings are going down and why they feel less and less relevant in 2018 now because we're in 2018? Why is that? Is it really just the length? Because the length is something you can get past, right? If it's a popping show, people can get past it maybe. What do you really feel like is the main issue?
For me, I think the main issue is that they're not understanding what the audiences are really wanting at the moment.
General movie-going audience.
General movie-going, exactly. I mean, film fans, we all try and follow and keep up with the Oscar movies and whatnot and the independent stuff. But, for a lot of the general audience who just lives in, in the middle of America or even somebody like me who grew up in LA, but where I grew up in Compton, we didn't have like nice theaters or anything to go to. So I would have to, it was literally a struggle to see a lot of these Oscar movies. And I think that's a big problem when you're trying to sell a show because who's going to care if their movies are not nominated? So
and who's going to care at an Oscars, which this year could be like the winner is 3 Billboards. It's like, oh, cool. What I don't even know what that is, nor do I care. Like, no offense to 3 Billboards. I keep throwing it so much shade. But it's one of those things where it's like, dude, who watched that movie?
Yeah.
No one did. You see what I'm saying? Like, you feel like that's one of the main issues is like, is it picking the movies that don't get a lot of attention? You think that's what it is?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to a whole bigger systematic problem with the Academy Awards, right? When the Oscars originally founded, the Academy of Motion Pictures, Arts and Sciences was founded back in like 1927 by Louis B. Mayer, Douglas Fairbanks, and a bunch of other like rich Hollywood elites at the time, right? So then back when they founded that, though, the whole point of having the Academy was to unite people like, actors, writers, and producers and directors. Besides like the artistic people, it's also like the big bankers behind Hollywood too, and the theater owners. So it's like all of these giant corporate big money people coming in to prevent like unionization from happening amongst like smaller subsections of filmmakers and artists. So like for example, this was before the DGA, before the PGA, before Screen Actors Guild, all that stuff. This was like the studios all coming, like all the studio heads coming together, all the theater chain owners, and all the big powerful people in terms of like big name actors and big name producers all coming together and trying to, for one, prevent unionization, but for two, trying to promote their own movies and promote their own films. Particularly Louis B. Mayer, who was like the head guy at MGM, the original founder of MGM. And for him, he's even quoted in saying that, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's better to throw his talent a couple of trophies to show them that, doing good work for MGM, like promoting the MGM way. So that was the whole purpose of why they were created. Now, for the first Academy Awards, though, which was held in like 1929, and Louis B. Mayer was so against one of his own movies because at the time at the studio there was Irving Thornburg and Louis B. Mayer, who were like the two heads of that studio. But Thornburg had made a movie that Louis B. Mayer didn't like, so which was The Crowd, which came out in 1928. So Louis B. Mayer literally said, "These are my awards. I'm not having his award. I'm not having his movie win Best Picture because he hated it, and even though it came from his own studio." So that's how we see the movie Wings winning, being the first Best Picture winner. So my whole point in giving that like anecdote is to kind of just say like the system's kind of built from the top down to begin with, and I think the only way to kind of incorporate like a new energy and inject like some new flavor into the Oscars is start building it from the bottom up. You know what I mean? Start letting in a new crop and a new wave of people, not just as members of the Academy, but on the voting board, on the not just on the voting board. I mean, but in terms of being on the board, being a chairperson, or having some actual leadership roles. Because once we understand like not having diversity. A lot of times people think of diversity, but a lot of times diversity comes horizontally. We got to start thinking vertically, right? We have to start putting young people at higher positions, and people of color, and women, and all marginalized groups start establishing a system where they could rise to the top and have a little more influence. And I think in that way, especially with young people too, I think young people are the biggest demographic that the Oscars are missing out on right now. And, again, that goes back to the length of the show and how, social media, like there's no way to adapt that kind of length of a show for a social media audience. But I think it's also because they're not electing movies that young people are looking at right now.
Well, what kind of movies are young people looking at, right? Because that's my biggest thing. My biggest thing is the fact that it gets tricky. You don't want to pick just movies that are just
popular. Yeah.
Here's my thing. I pulled up the 2017 list of domestic box office growth of 2017. Obviously, it goes Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, Wonder Woman, Guardians of the Galaxy, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Jumanji, Thor: Ragnarok, Despicable Me, Justice League, Logan, Fate of the Furious, Coco. These are like the top 13 movies of last year domestically in the U.S., right? In the U.S., in North America, basically.
Right.
4 of those are superhero movies. Mm-hmm. One of those is a Star Wars movie. Jumanji made a lot of money, and 2 of them are animated movies. But
like 9 of them are Disney movies.
And like a ton of them are Disney movies. But my thing is, this is the kind of movies that people are paying money to see. People are actually going to the box office and large amounts of money to see these movies. On a worldwide scale, it doesn't really change much. Obviously, Last Jedi, Beauty and the Beast, Fate of the Furious, Spider-Man, Guardians, Wonder Woman, Thor: Ragnarok. These are, a good 60% of superhero movies. A lot of people are asking for that. As far as people like now are asking for more superhero genre movies to make it, or just genre movies in general to make it into the Oscars, specifically superhero though, especially in a year where we had a Wonder Woman, where we had a Logan, which a Logan is worthy of getting some attention as far as Oscar nominations. Mm-hmm. So in a year of 2017 where we had all these superhero movies make so much money, and that's what the general movie-going audience is enjoying and watching. Should we have more of that in the Best Picture nominations or in the other category nominations? Or you think that's a dangerous method of following the trends and following what's popular instead of following what's good?
Yeah, I don't think we should start looking at box office and start determining what the Academy.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying this is what people are watching, and the kind of movies that are getting nominated are people that 3 Billboards. No one's seen that, right? My thing is we have something like Logan, which is like number 8 overall in domestic growth. If you asked the average person, is that an Academy Award level film? Yes, is the answer. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. And I think even some of the ones, I know some people don't like it, but I think it could be a possibility for having.
A lot of people are saying Wonder Woman too is Academy Award level, right? I'm not, but I'm saying I'm not either. But I'm saying like there's a lot of people saying that we finally have some genre films, some superhero films that are worthy of some nominations, and they still don't get nominated.
Yeah,
why is that?
And do
you think that would help?
I think what it really comes down to is the hype factor surrounding some of these movies, particularly with like the way studios campaign for their prestige pictures. First of all, I think the whole idea of having the A-list movies and the B-list movies kind of, a lot of people see the big grossers, like the big blockbusters, as just B movies, right? Like as, something that's not complex, easily consumable, all that kind of stuff. And I think that and then there, of course, there's the A movies that people consider like the prestige pictures, like the Call Me by Your Names, the Lady Birds, the Three Billboards. Yeah, man, you're throwing a lot of shades at Three Billboards.
I really am. All the Three Billboard fans are gonna be coming at me. Come at me on Twitter, bro. Squad Leader Ace, bro. At me. I'm just joking.
Follow me at RB3 Schmoes. Anyway.
Florida Project.
Florida Project.
There's another one.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about that, too, right before we started taping. Yeah.
It's good, but it's just not...
Yeah, I still got to see it. Yeah. Sean Baker's my homie, though. I think, again... The money that's put behind this kind of marketing of such, like of the prestige versus the mainstream, which does make sense. I mean, there are going to be a certain section of audiences that want to see a certain type of movie, but I also think that studios are playing with the idea of blockbusters playing it safe and not playing it as safe anymore. The whole idea of like the B movies are things that just throw out, make whatever, and then they'll make money. Same, that's what Transformers movies are essentially. But I think now that studios are understanding that audiences are smarter than that, audiences want something intelligent in their movies and their blockbusters, and that's why we see something like Logan, something like War for the Planet of the Apes, something like the Dark Knight trilogy back in the day, which always and forever changed the Academy Award for starting to let in more than 5 nominees for Best Picture. And I think if the studios start going towards more of that approach, making more serious or making more elevated level blockbusters, the whole separation would start to dissolve a little bit.
But that's what I counter with that, saying that they have with Logan, with Wonder Woman, with It, like you said, they are making some stuff that can cross over and be a box office success and a Academy level motion picture.
Yeah. Well, now there's also another problem.
And if I told you, and if I told an 18-year-old that lives outside of Ebbings, Missouri, just some random kid in high school, that Wolverine is nominated for an Oscar, he'd be like, "Yo, Wolverine? Hell, I'm tuning in, right?" Yeah. And then if I told the SAG members or the Academy voters that they nominated Hugh Jackman or they nominated Patrick Stewart, who I think is more worthy, right, than Hugh Jackman, even though Hugh Jackman's amazing in that. If I told them, hey, Professor X is nominated for an Oscar, you want to see the Oscars on Sunday? Hell yeah, I do. If Professor X is nominated, hell yeah. And if I told the Academy that they voted for Patrick Stewart, or that is Patrick Stewart worthy of getting a vote, would they say yes? Most likely they would. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It can cross over.
I think a large part of it, and this is where I think we disagree. I think a large part of it has to do with the money that's put behind the Oscars, right?
Okay. So campaign.
The campaign. A lot of times, the studios campaign for what they consider the more elevated movies, of course, there are entire independent distributors whose main focus are. Making these small movies, which is good. We should have a diversity in films, and we should. I'm not saying I'm not saying that we should be cross-pollinating and we shouldn't see indies anymore. No, I think the amount of indies that we're seeing is at an all-time high, and I think that's where we should keep going, and especially in this culture. But I think that where we're starting to mix the level of intellect that we're putting into these genre films, we should start mixing that up a little bit. But I think to the greater point, what I'm trying to make here is that the indies are totally dedicated to making Oscar rounds, whereas the genre pictures are not. They're
so
not
it's fine keeping them separate, you think?
I think
even if it hurts the ratings.
No, I don't think keep them separate. I think studios need to put their Oscar campaigns into these big blockbusters.
Okay.
I think that they could. I think that you should take the money out of it completely. That's what I personally think. I think take it out completely. But if you're going to have money in the system, don't just dedicate it to the indie circuits. You should dedicate a lot of money to that too, because that is your marketing. That is your way of promoting that film. But I also think that if the studios had as much faith as the audiences had in their pictures, we would start to see Logan and War for the Planet of the Apes get into some serious conversations.
But you're saying right now that like a 20th Century Fox or these type of studios, if they had to choose between putting money behind a campaign for Logan or a campaign for Shape of Water,
say
they're going to pick Shape of Water.
I say put money for both.
Yeah.
That's what I think. And I think honestly, you put Logan and Shape of Water toe to toe. That's a good conversation. Like But
if it's the same studio behind it, though.
I mean, that's conflicting. But then again, studios are campaigning left and right for movies, right? Fox is also the owners of Fox Searchlight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Fox Searchlight is the one that distributed Shape of Water.
Right, but then there are years where there are 3 or 4 Fox Searchlight movies nominated for. I mean, especially I think what was it, like 2008, 2009, where I think it was 2008 where Slumdog Millionaire won Best Picture, and I think Revolutionary Road was also nominated, which was also a Fox Searchlight movie as well. So I mean, again, they're putting a lot of money behind multiple films, and I think that's their way of promoting those films. I just also think, even though some of these big films don't need promotion, for one, the studio should start putting the intellect that they should put into it, which some have, which was the Logans and the War for Planet Apes and the Wonder Womans. And I think that's the first step. And the second step is to put the money behind it, to campaign for it, and make Oscar voters take it seriously.
That's my thing too, is like, I'm going to switch the conversation over to a perfect example of this. And I know it's television, but something that television is doing now. Think at Stranger Things.
Yeah.
How many people watch that show? So many freaking people watch that show. They love that show. They enjoy that show. Guess what? Emmy nominated show, Emmy winning show, Golden Globe winning show. And now it's like, wait a minute. I remember when Stranger Things came out and I would watch Collider TV Talk. Shout out to Josh McCouga, RIP. And it's one of those things where I remember Josh said, he's like, I just finished Stranger Things. And at the weekend it came out, and he's like, it's a great show. It's not going to get any awards. He said that on the show. Look at all the awards it's won instead.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that there is a possibility to have crossover. A show that everyone loves and that everyone watches, and a show that the Academy, the voters love, and SAG members love, and Emmy voters love, and Golden Globes, the foreign press loves, and gets wins.
Yeah.
It gets nominations for a Millie Bobby Brown. It gets, David Harbour his career has blown up from that show now. Now he's freaking Hellboy.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that there is a possibility where you see something like a Stranger Things and you say, that's a fun show for the family or for whoever to watch. That's not a award-winning show. Guess what? It is.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility to have a type of show, a type of movie that can do the same thing for genre films.
And you know what? That's a great comparison you bring up, because for one, I think there's 2 factors here. For one, I think the Television Academy is much more woke, much younger, and much more in tune with what the general public wants than the Motion Picture Academy will ever be.
Sure.
Especially at this moment, I think they've been ahead of the curve forever. They gave Glee a Best Comedy nomination. You remember that? Like that's crazy to me.
That's kind of crazy. I still think Millie Bobby Brown's crazy, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, again, they're connecting with what audiences want, because there's such a wide range of voters and they have such a diverse pool of people to pull from. Whereas the Academy, a lot of the members aren't, for lack of better terms, like,
in with the times.
Yeah, and with the times. Yeah. They're not contemporaries.
Yeah.
And I think that we should start. If the Academy of Motion Pictures start letting in more contemporaries, more young people, more people who are whose ears are more in tune with the general consensus and the general audience, I think that's going to be a big change. And I also think, especially with Stranger Things, it's also the case that Netflix is putting a lot of money behind that. I mean, Netflix we were talking about how Netflix doesn't, necessarily promote their movies the right way.
No, they promote their TV though.
Yeah, their TV is their big.
Oh, look, The Crown, bro.
Yeah,
that Crown is popping.
Right.
That show is popping, dude. Freaking Claire Foy is getting stuff everywhere, and so is freaking Matt Smith in that show. Deservedly so. I love that show. Shout out to The Crown.
I've never watched it personally. So.
Oh, it's dope. It's definitely one of those shows that I'm like, I'm not gonna like this. This is some royal family stuff. I don't care. And then I saw it and I'm like, shit, this is dope.
Right.
But for me, it's like they actually put a lot behind The Crown, and it got John Lithgow an Emmy win, it got Claire Foy an Emmy win, and got The Crown a best the best drama.
Oh,
it beat Game of Thrones. It beat like a ton of people, and everyone was like, "The Crown." It's like, yeah, Netflix throws down, dude. Yeah. They throw down for their TV.
And you know what? Because with that particular kind of business model, where they're not relying on ratings and they're not relying on, they're not necessarily relying on buzz or consumer direct dollars the same way that movies and television are. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said they're not relying on buzz. Their structure is relying on buzz. Whatever is the biggest buzzing show is what they're going to put their money behind. It's not necessarily what's the biggest ratings or what show can we market in a way that will get us ratings or what movie can we market through the Academy Awards. For them, it's like what has the most buzz. We'll put the biggest push behind that, and then that's how the Television Academy is able to elect something like a Stranger Things or The Crown or even, particularly something like Game of Thrones, which is traditional television, but most people are watching Game of Thrones.
Everyone watches Game of Thrones. Yeah. Everyone does. And it always gets nominations. Mm-hmm. Always. Deservedly so. It's a great show. Mm-hmm. But that's kind of what I'm saying is the fact that you have good movies that are good movies with good casts and with good performances, but they happen to be a superhero movie, so the Academy immediately goes, nope, no thank you. Even if it's a movie that probably deserves some sort of Oscar. Dude, I'd put so many superhero movies this year over what got nominated this morning. I would put it over. 100%. I mean, I'm gonna get more shade through 3 billboards.
Right.
Get 3 billboards out of there. Florida Project? Come on, man. More like Thor Ragnarok. Come on. I'm just kidding, dude. But for me, it's like I would take out some of them. But then again, as someone who's an indie fan too, and I'm playing devil's advocate, guys. I really do love indie movies. So for me, it's like indie. This is their bread. This is what they have, right? Mm-hmm. Blockbuster movies make the money. Please at least give us an award, man. I mean, my movie made $10 million. Your movie made, freaking $180 million in the first weekend. Mm-hmm. At least get me like a freaking trophy, right? That's kind of that's their version of a box office success is award attention.
And I think a lot of times they end up shooting those that recognition to technical categories.
Sure.
And that's where you find a lot of bigger budget stuff. Unfortunately, and I think this is another problem with the running time. Nobody's watching the Academy Awards for the best cinematography or best sound mixing. You know what I mean? I think, again, the Academy should really consider consolidating a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean? They have that whole big technical awards that happens beforehand, which, is nice. I just feel like, listen, there's you can mix the sound categories a little bit, I don't know. There's a certain way. I don't know what it is, but I think there's a certain way that you could. I want to see all these people get their credit. Let me say that first too. I love seeing DPs and editors and makeup artists going up there and accepting their awards. I love it. I love seeing that. But most people don't, and there can be a way where you could kind of zoom by those. I think you'll be doing a bigger favor towards viewers and towards audiences alike
to get more attention. Yeah. Here's another question I have for you. That's another wrinkle inside the Oscar rating system, or just ratings in general, is politics. Yeah. Do you think politics plays a factor? Do you think now that we have Trump in the presidency, regardless of the fact if you like him or not, he's the president, and now we have someone like a Jimmy Kimmel who hosted last year and is hosting again this year, who has, if you keep up with anything, I mean, he single-handedly just, took off his gloves against Trump this year more than ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, this past year, Kimmel used to be kind of like a few Trump jokes here and there, and now his gloves off. Yeah. Now he brought his kid into it. Yeah. He straight up brought his kid into it. He's like, "You're killing my kid, Trump," and he was like crying on TV. It's like, oh shit, Jimmy Kimmel just threw down. He just took the gloves off. Mm-hmm. So now you have a host like a Jimmy Kimmel who's gonna go after Trump without any hesitation, and you have a Trump base which is, half the population, if not more than half the population, right? I mean, a huge portion of the population. There's a lot of Trump supporters now that will legitimately not watch the Oscars because of the political aspect of it, because of the Meryl Streeps, because of the political speeches and telling me who to vote for and telling me what to do, and I'm just telling you how it is though. It's like a lot of people will not watch, and that's kind of what happened last year. I mean, overrated Meryl Streep, man, the most overrated actress of all time.
You calling I know. Overrated?
No, that's what he said. But I'm saying that's what Trump said.
Yeah, right.
So that's now a lot of people are like, yeah, overrated Meryl Streep. I'm not watching the Oscars. So you have do you think that plays a factor in the ratings that now there is a clear, even though it's always been there, but now more than ever there's a clear political bias against the right when it comes to the Academy Awards?
Yeah, I mean that's a problem as well. I mean, this is also a problem with elitism culture in Hollywood right? I mean, especially for an industry that's so ego driven, everybody's like, "Oh, I'm better, I'm smarter than you," and that's a lot of what it is. And especially, look, I go to film school too. I go to USC. Like, I deal with that every single day. Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm too smart for the Star Wars."
What are they doing with their lip?
I don't know.
What's in there? Get it out of your teeth, bro.
I don't know. Again, people look down on stuff that's genre films and stuff like that. So,
but I'm talking about.
But when you talk about politics, yes, again, that's you're patronizing people. That's what's happening. It's and Trump is patronizing the left too, no doubt. But that whole. I mean, listen, I didn't watch the Golden Globes this year. And
you didn't watch it, really?
No, and
you were at the basketball game.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I gotta be honest, man. That when Meryl Streep did that speech last year, that kind of almost took me completely. I'm not like Republican. I'm not right. Ace knows me. I'm like the furthest. I'm the furthest left person.
RB3 is like, pretty Republican. Some say alt right, but I don't know if that's he's kind of alt right.
I was marching with the tiki torches.
Yeah. I saw RB3 in there. I don't know why they let him in, but I'm just playing.
No. I think when you kind of I don't know. Don't. For me, it was like when Meryl Streep did that at the Golden Globes. You're taking the politics, which you're putting that to the mainstream, to a night where people are celebrating awards and celebrating stuff like that. And I agree with it, the way they handled like the Time's Up movement and the Me Too stuff.
But that was the Golden Globes this year.
Yeah, the Golden Globes this year. Yeah, and I love how they handled that, because it wasn't like this overly grandiose, like long speech of.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It kind of was.
Oprah gave a speech.
I mean, it kind of was though, man. Did you see it?
It wasn't like Trump bashing though.
It wasn't Trump bashing.
It was more of celebrating women and the advancement. If Oscars are going to get political and award shows are going to get political, do it in a positive way. Don't go attacking the president. Don't go attacking people who may follow his beliefs, because frankly, whether you like it or not, and again, this is a problem that Hollywood people don't seem to get. Not all Trump voters are like bad people. You know what I mean? There's some people who voted for Trump who are legitimately trying to get the country back. And now it's a year later and, they're seeing, a government shutdown and everything, and they're just as disappointed as some of us are, So I think at the end of the day, we got to stop, jumping down each other's throat, being so like judgmental towards each other.
But do you feel like that plays a factor?
I think that's definitely plays a factor. 100%. And again, like I said, I didn't want to watch.
A lot of people will not watch the Oscars this year because of that.
Yeah,
I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened last year. So if it happened last year, it's going to happen this year even more than ever.
Well, do you think? I mean, do you think that's part of the problem too? Is the politics?
I mean, yeah. Here's my thing, and this is, I'm getting political now.
Right.
Where I feel like there's a big issue. There's a big problem right now in the U.S. when it comes to the word political in general. Mm-hmm. I feel like there's sometimes too much emphasis on people's negative responses to what they feel to be a political conversation. Mm. What I mean by that is saying, if I say, hey, women shouldn't be raped. Oh, why are you getting so political? Really? Is that political? If I say, hey, let's not rape women, is that really political? Because to me, that's just common sense. That's something you learn naturally if you grew up in America, not to hurt women.
Yeah.
And if someone says on the mic and gets up there and says, hey, let's not hurt our women and let's support them, is that really political? Because I don't feel like that is. If I get up there and I say, hey, let's not hate black people. Let's not be racist.
Why you gotta be political?
Why you gotta be political, man? It's like, what? I'm just saying let's not be racist. Yeah. Is that really a political issue? Like, that's what gets me mad when people are like, well, don't bring politics into this, man. Is it really political for me to say let's not be racist? Is it really political for me to say let's not rape women? I don't know. For me, that's just common sense. So for me, I agree with you. There's a way to do it where you're saying something that's just real. That's just common sense. If I went up there at the Academy Awards, obviously I'm not, and I'm probably not going to, but if I did, you bet your ass I'm going to mention something about Latinos. You bet your ass I'm going to mention something about Mexicans, because guess what? That's what I am. That's what I grew up with. That's what defines me, and that's what defines my art, my beliefs, my movies, my mentality, my philosophy. I'm gonna say something about Latinos, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because that's who I am. I don't think I should turn people away because I'm talking about my race and talking about what my beliefs are. In fact, of like, hey, let's not abuse people who are immigrants coming into this country. I don't think that's necessarily something that should be so political, and it has become so politicized nowadays in our country that we literally had a government shutdown about it. And for me, it's like it gets me upset because for me, that's not political. That's just something common sense.
Basic human rights.
Basic human rights with immigrants who come into this country. Hey, let's maybe not be so much dicks towards them. Maybe let's not kick them out for stupid reasons, right? Maybe let's let people who are working here and have opportunities here keep working here and keep having opportunities here, and they're contributing to the economy. It's like that to me is common sense. So if for someone else that might be political, but for them I would say, hey, shut up, because it's not. So I agree with you in the sense that there is a way to give a message, a positive message of, hey, let's support black creators. Let's support Latino creators. Let's support women in film. That's not political to me. To me, that's just common sense.
Yeah.
But a lot of people would take that as political. However, in the sense of Trump, I agree with you. I wouldn't necessarily have to, like you said for Meryl Streep last year, where she specifically said, hey, Mr. President, I hate you, and screw all your supporters. You don't have to say that.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be the message you give at an Academy Awards. And you could say it in a way where it does show positivity, and at the same time, it shows an effect on your belief and your cause.
Right. And again, once you're attacking an entire base, that's not a good idea,
No.
right? And then, so I think what you're talking about with bringing the positivity towards the forefront, the same way the Golden Globes did, and I think the Oscars could do something phenomenal this year concerning all of those. Now you said not political issues, human issues.
Yeah.
We bring that to the forefront and start promoting that stuff, equal pay, equal, equality across all fronts. And I think what also can and should happen is that we should start seeing the Academy act on it. You know what I mean? We should start seeing the Academy being the forerunners of women's movements, of women's equality, and not just for women, but for diversity as well. For, I know they want to talk about nominating, Fences and Moonlight and Hidden Figures all last year. That's cool. You're nominating black movies. Let's see black creators start getting a shot at this. Let's see the Academy open some create some scholarships for young kids who want to pursue filmmaking but can't necessarily afford it. You know what I mean? Let's see them open up more opportunities. Like I said, vertically at the top, or not necessarily at the top, but somewhere at a powerful position to a deserving person of color, and then maybe we could start seeing an increase in people who are interested. You know what I mean? I think people care just as much about what you represent as much as what you're actually putting out to the world, And I think in many ways what the Golden Globes has shown is like, they're kind of cooperating with, it's kind of a shady organization. Sure, it's not necessarily the most legitimate awards, but a lot of people praised the award show this year because, for one, phenomenal speeches all around the board. I mean, Oprah gave an amazing speech. Everybody was just being amazing that night. And then, but it's also because it fully enabled this Time's Up movement to spread nationwide, and they put their foot where their mouth is, or is that what the saying is? I don't know. I'm not good at saying phrases.
They put their money where their mouth is.
Put their money where their mouth is. There you go. Yeah. Put your money where your foot is. I don't know.
Put your foot in your mouth's money's foots. Put my foot in my money.
Yeah. There we go. But yeah, so I think hopefully the Academy could start, of course they've begun the process of diversifying.
Sure.
Voters. And I should say too, I do, a lot of people are incorrect me in the comments. I do know the president of the Academy is a black woman. I do know this.
Yeah.
That being said, most of their board members are, for lack of better terms, older white men. You know what I mean? And I think if once that starts to shift up a little bit, then we'll see like some really amazing stuff. But yes, I do know the president of the Academy is black.
Yeah. One thing I want to say too as well is before we get into the questions is this whole thing is this whole conversation was basically titled, "Are the Oscars relevant anymore?" Do you feel there's an answer to that question? Are the Oscars relevant?
I think it's going to take some time to get the Oscars back up to like their prime status, like they were, some time before. Because you got to remember, what was it 1998 when Best Picture winner Titanic, the highest grossing movie of all time.
Yep.
I mean that's ratings haven't really hit a peak like that in a super long time, and you're talking about the declining ratings. The ratings, you start to see ratings go up. Guess what? In 2010, when Avatar was nominated for Best Picture, The Blind Side, which was one of the biggest movies of the year when it came out, and I know a lot of people argue it shouldn't be nominated for Best Picture, but guess what? It was, and the ratings showed it. And but then again, the very next year, they're gonna nominate The King's Speech, and but they and. Inception was nominated for Best Picture too.
I don't think it was. Was it?
See, then that would be a problem. Yeah, I think it was though. I think it was. But
you're right.
But see, it was Inception, Toy Story 3, The Social Network. Popular films were nominated, but they give it to The King's Speech, which is nobody. Listen. No, I shouldn't say it. People care about that movie. It's a good movie. It's a great movie. But
no one's seen it.
No one's seen it, and the people clearly championing The Social Network. I mean, we talk about, at least people my age, when we talk about movies, everybody's talking about The Social Network, even still to this day.
Here's my thing, dude. My thing is we're going to see that this year too with movies like Get Out and movies like Lady Bird. Honestly, or Dunkirk too. But for me, it's like, bruh, if Three Billboards wins the Best Picture this year, I'm going to lose my shit. In a year that we saw Get Out, in a year that we saw movies that were dope, you're going to give it to Three Billboards outside Ebbings, Missouri? Really, though? Like, who outside of Ebbings, Missouri has seen that movie? Like, come on, man. Like, who in Japan has seen that movie? Who in Italy has seen that movie? Who in Colombia has seen that movie? Come on. Like, let's wake up. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I'm not saying it might not, but it's definitely like, it's not the movie of 2017. It really isn't. There's a movie called Get Out that made a lot of money, that a lot of people saw, and that a lot of people enjoyed, and that a lot of people identified with. Let's give it to Get Out. Let's give it to Lady Bird, which deserves a lot of attention. Like, let's give it to movies that actually made an impact when it comes to quality and when it comes to the times, when it comes to being relevant in 2017, of this last year. For me, it's like there's something should be said about that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when it comes to deserving movies, I think every movie that got nominated, sure, is deserving to be nominated for Best Picture. But I feel when it comes to picking the winner, it should be a winner that people can identify with, and not just, like you said, The King's Speech. Oh, cool. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, but you know what? You make some great points, but I think it's going back all the way to what you said at the beginning. Is the Academy living in a bubble? And I think to the Academy, a lot of times they are, and to them, what reflects 2017 is not Get Out, is not maybe not Lady Bird, maybe Lady Bird. I mean, that's a pretty relatable movie, sure. I think, but again, that's not their conscience. It's not what's at the tip of their tongues. What's more at the tip of their tongues is something a little more traditional, or something a little more, I mean, I don't want to rip on Three Billboards like you are, but listen, I'm going to see it, and then I'm going to see it soon, and then I'm going to do a review live on air for you guys.
To anyone who's, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sure it's a great movie. Shout out to my homies in Missouri.
Yeah. But yeah, no. But I think that's, the bubble that the Academy lives in. I think that's prominent in this discussion. And I think once they expand the bubble and start letting other people into their bubble, then we're gonna see an increase in movies that actually matter and reflect the current consciousness.
Sure.
In cinema.
Call Me by Your Name. There, I'm going to start attacking Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name. Good film too. But again, that's another one directed. It's another nostalgia.
But that's another kind of movie that it's really I get it. It's it's cool. It's European. It's hey.
Yeah, it's European. It literally takes place in 1983. So
yeah. See, that's my.
You get my point here, people.
Come on, guys. Let's mix it up.
See, but the Academy has always had a history of not being relevant, right? Even I always think, to me, one of my favorite movies is Do the Right Thing. Came out in 1989. 1989, actually the same exact weekend that Tim Burton's Batman came out. That movie, for many critics and audience, for many critics considered it the best movie of the year. It was such a highly contested movie that at the time, I believe it was the LA. I'm not sure. It was an LA magazine. I think it was the LA magazine. If I'm not mistaken, that they had 5 different think pieces on that movie when it came out. 5 different think pieces. People, this was at the tip of everybody's tongue. And guess what? Did it win Best Picture? No. Was it nominated for Best Picture? No. What won Best Picture? Driving Miss Daisy. Are you kidding me? The Academy steering the exact opposite of what the people would want to see in films like that. You talk about, a lot of a bigger controversial year at the Oscars is 1994, where you have Forrest Gump, you also have Pulp Fiction, and you had Shawshank Redemption, right? Listen, let's cut it straight and dry. A lot of people think Pulp Fiction should have won, but ended up winning Forrest Gump. And I love Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump's one of my personal favorites, and I grew up on that movie. That being said, it's a red state movie. Let's keep it at that. Whereas something like Pulp Fiction, where it has Jules, like cool black guy, da da da, it doesn't receive like the same kind of recognition, and especially look at where Tarantino is now versus where Robert Zemeckis is now. And I love Robert Zemeckis and I love Forrest Gump, but again, it's another example of the Academy not necessarily understanding the consciousness. Again, going back to the King's Speech versus the Social Network, a lot of choices like that throughout the years have just shown that the Academy is not really up to snuff to what people are really concerned about. The Dark Knight not getting nominated, thus actually leading to them opening up the category of Best Picture more. So again, they have to get relevant, and their history proves that they're not. But I think one day they'll catch up.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was a fun conversation, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that Oscar conversation. Let us know what you guys think about the Oscar nominees, and if you guys think this is relevant.
Right.
I don't know. I wanted to have that conversation, and I think it's a relevant conversation to have, especially on Oscar morning or whatever you want to call this Tuesday. It's Oscar nomination Tuesday. But let's jump into your guys' question, guys, because we really want to read your guys' question and have a good time reading those questions. Hopefully, RB3 has something pulled up. If not, I'll try to pull up something right now.
Yeah.
Let me see. I got something right now. I'm on Schmelville. So Kevin Lair says, with all the actors such as Greta Gerwig and Jordan Peele trying their hand at directing, which actor or comedian would you like to see try directing?
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm. I would say maybe someone. I kind of like saying someone who has a little bit of like prestige. Someone like a Christian Bale. Christian Bale directing. That would be kind of cool.
What scares me about something like a Christian Bale is the fact that he dedicates himself so much to the craft of acting.
That's why I'd be crazy. You imagine being on a Christian Bale directed set.
Right.
Christian Bale rants every day.
right. And but will he have an understanding for like the actual storytelling behind that? I don't really know. I always kind of think like some mid-level guys that I would like to see. Maybe direct something. I'm not gonna lie, man. I would love to see Gerard Butler really grime into like a hardcore action movie.
What?
I'm not gonna lie, man. Listen, Gerard Butler, he might not pick the best scripts, but imagine him doing like some like nice like 90s throwback kind of like.
I don't know, man. I think he's too busy bench curling something or bench pressing.
Hey, man. He was in 300, arguably one of the greatest action movies ever made. He's in the string of. Listen, I don't know if that's a far-fetched one, but I don't really know if there's any other actors that I had to be interested in.
Someone else, I kind of feel like he might have done this already, and I might be stupid, but Robert Downey Jr.
Okay.
I think Robert.
He's a producer mostly, right?
He's a producer, but I feel like Robert Downey Jr. directing. So I recently rewatched Iron Man, the first Iron Man, and he's just so freaking dope, man. I freaking love that. Like, it's so funny how like I've made a switch on Iron Man, the Iron Man character itself, just because for me I was like Team Cap all the way, and now for some reason I'm just like, man, I'm kind of rooting for Iron Man now, and I kind of like Robert Downey Jr. more and more, even though he's like covered in money, so he doesn't know what to do with himself because he's buried in money, he can't breathe. But for real, he's like, please help, I have so much money. But Robert Downey Jr. I think it'd be a fun, interesting choice.
Yeah, get Gerard Butler his action movie. I think better answer for this question would be like comedy actors, right? Like who are like some big comedy names that you could see?
That's a good question.
Because I think Jordan Peele, Greta Gerwig, I think all the comedy people proved to be
that's true.
Great writers and directors.
Oh no, he didn't direct it. Did he direct The Big Sick? What's his name?
Oh, Camille Najagi?
He didn't direct it.
No, he
Oh,
wrote
okay.
it. Yeah. But I like to see him maybe step behind the camera. Yeah,
that'd be fun. Him directing like a comedy or something.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'd be down with that. I don't know who else. So for comedians, I'm kind of bad at like picking comedies out.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily a comedy actor, but Bradley Cooper's getting his start.
That's right.
In directing.
That's right.
I mean, to me, I always see him as a comedy actor because low key, my first time seeing him was The Hangover.
Yeah.
And I always think of him as the Hangover guy, but. He's making his directorial debut for Star is Born, the remake of the 1931 movie, I think, with Lady Gaga as the star. So
that's right.
I'm hoping that turns out well for him too. So,
yeah. We'll see.
I have something on Twitter here.
Go for it.
It kind of relates back to some of what we're talking about in the Academy conversation. It says, do you guys think that the blockbusters and the phasing out of the middle budget movies are going to hurt Hollywood in the long run?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because right now everything is if your film isn't at an Academy Award if it's not an Academy Award level film and you make it for a small budget, it's probably going to be buried and you're probably going to lose money. And if it's a big blockbuster and if you're not making all that money back, it's probably going to be buried, and the studio's probably not going to risk that much money into it, a.k.a. Justice League. What? Justice League? That's right. I called you out. You didn't make as much money as you invested.
Yeah.
Maybe you should try making a better movie. Or trust Zack Snyder.
Or wasn't
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cut. Hey.
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut.
wasn't
Trust your director.
Didn't the story come out that like they were trying to get like pay bonuses or whatever, like to try and
That's so much trash.
Or whatever?
So
like,
much trash, man.
Yeah. I don't know. No disrespect to Warner Brothers.
All disrespect. For me, I don't care. But for me, yeah, there is like the middle budget movies were the backbone of Hollywood for a long time, and now it's kind of like gone.
70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah,
that's really what. I mean, really, Hollywood's kind of founded on spending a relatively modest amount on movies, even throughout its infancy. Not necessarily its infancy as art form, but its infancy as a business.
Sure.
A lot of the time it was ran by having a consistent budget through especially like the golden age of Hollywood, the classic age.
Sure.
But now and even through pushing that all the way into the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, where the 90s came in though is that the independent scene just started taking over so much, and the studios realized how big the money is in blockbusters, right? You're starting off with Star Wars and Jaws and kind of planting that seed, but even in the 90s, Independence Day, Jurassic Park, all of these movies were doing big business, and now that comic book movies are just proven to be like a guaranteed hit, basically. That's where a lot of big budget is going, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another comment from Schmelville. Tully Slim says, is there such thing as an objectively bad film? Yes, there is such thing as an objectively bad film. I don't care what people say, because I've heard a lot of people say, that's not true. It's all subjective. It's all subjective. Guess what? That's not true. There is such thing as someone who goes to film school, like RB3, he can tell you straight up, there's actually a technical aspect of making film and an objective way to actually do something. So yes, there's films that have bad editing, bad sound, bad acting, bad everything, bad directing, bad formatting, bad lighting, which is super important. And that movie is called Justice League. Seriously, though, that's a terrible film.
Move the hate from 3 billboards. Put it right on Justice League.
I'm going right back at it. That's an objectively bad movie. That's just what I'm saying.
I think it's possible to enjoy a bad movie.
I agree. The Room. The Room is an example of that's an objectively bad film.
Objectively bad movie.
That's a bad movie. And guess what? It's hysterical. It's a super funny movie.
Right. I think, again, there's ways to get pleasancy out of bad movies. But I think, film is subjective. Yes, that is also indeed true. Like, anybody could think whatever they want to think about a movie. I do think, though, at the end of the day, if you call a spade for some of our, some of the big movies that come out, not necessarily big movies, but for some of the movies that we see come out in theaters, it's possible to just kind of say it's bad. You know what I mean? But there's always going to be negative qualities and positive qualities towards film, I guess.
Sure.
But speaking on your film school thing, our question here comes in from Hugo Patio Cano, who writes, Ace, did you go to film school and why? RB3, how is film school so far? Do you think that it's helped you or not? Yeah.
I like how he's like, did you go to film school? Why? Why'd you go to film school, Ace? Well, I didn't go to film school. Is it Hugo?
Hugo.
Yeah. I did not. No, I went to Arizona State University. Shout out to ASU, the best school ever. And I had a film program there / script writing program. Media program is what it was actually called. But as far as film school goes, nope.
Yeah.
Did go there? No.
Yeah,
I know RB3 is going there.
Yeah, I'm currently in film school right now, so I'm answering from my firsthand perspective so far. So far it's great, man. I mean,
You're a sophomore, right?
Yeah, I'm a junior.
Shit.
Yeah. So I'm.
God, you're getting old.
Yeah.
What are you now? 20?
20. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not even a teenager anymore. I think that the best part of film school is the people you meet, is the connections, right? Like you meet a lot of really cool and interesting people in film school who you're probably more than likely going to be working with sometime down the line. So I think for that reason alone is the main reason why a lot of people do go to film school. I also think if you just have a passion for film and you have a passion for like watching movies or like, you know, being involved in films, you know, a lot of times film school really helps with that in terms of like you're studying what you want to study. You're learning about your craft and learning how to make yourself better and how to better yourself in understanding the history of film and whatnot. So I think it's cool. It depends on what you're looking for, though. And sometimes film school is not for everybody. And a lot of times people go to film school and totally end up just becoming like lawyers or, you know, car salesmen or something. You know,
hey, man, shout out to them car salesmen. Though.
Yeah.
Alahim Raham says, you guys always talk about movies. Are you guys also fans of gaming? If so, any recent games you guys played that you liked and why? Yeah, I love gaming. I used to be a gamer. I'm not a gamer anymore because I don't have a video game system.
Oh, really?
But I used to love it, and I absolutely enjoy the arts of video games. My brother has a PS4, so when I visit him in Arizona, I play his PS4. Something recently that I played is Battlefront 2, the Star Wars game. Okay. And I know a lot of people are shitting on it. I freaking loved it. Really? I get to play as freaking Kylo Ren and Rey and actually fight like anyone from like old past movies. I could beat Darth Maul and kick everyone's ass. Hell yeah, I love that game. But that's just me being like a Star Wars fan. If I had to say like objectively, what's a great game that I recently discovered is, I keep saying it, but the freaking Horizon game, Beyond Horizon. That game is just freaking, it blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
Anything for you?
I'm not gonna lie, man. I used to be a gamer. I used to be a big time gamer. Unfortunately, since like 2015, since I like started college, the only real video games I brought are like 2K. So. Big NBA 2K fan though.
NBA 2K is popping though.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope. Vivly Stern says, "When is the meaning of joining the Schmodown?" I don't know, RB3. Ooh. When are we joining the Schmodown? Yeah. Whenever we get asked, we'll totally do the Schmodown. Yeah. We'll totally kick everyone's ass at getting our ass kicked.
Yeah. We're working on something too, y'all, for the young bucks. You know, we're not totally dead. We'll see.
I don't even know what that is.
We are negotiating. We might be. Listen, they probably put us in that in memoriam thing on the at the Schmodown Awards. Don't listen to that. Something is formulating.
Did they really?
Yeah,
that's hysterical.
Okay, I have a question here from Shane St. Louis, who writes, "How do you feel about Spielberg and Harrison Ford making Indiana Jones 5 a reality?"
I think it's super dumb. I think Harrison Ford should be at home reading his newspaper, his daily paper, and watching TV. That man is a legend. He's a hero. He's Han Solo, and he is too damn old. Too damn old for this shit. For real. I can't believe that they're actually going to do that. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull is evidence enough that it's just not going to work with an old man Harrison Ford. Sorry for my honest opinion.
I'm pretty much in the same wave, man. Listen, I love that Harrison Ford came back for Han Solo, and that was great. He was great. He felt like he was back in it. You know, he felt like he woke back up and started playing his character again. The only thing that worries me about Indiana Jones is that it's a much more physical role. You know, there's a lot more running, a lot more jumping, a lot more like athletic stuff. And for somebody his age, I don't want that to be like a major factor like it was in the most recent Crystal Skull. But then again, like I said, I saw the post. The post felt like Spielberg had kind of woken back up too, like he's ready to get back in it. To me, at least. I don't know if did you ever get around to seeing it or
no, I haven't seen it.
No, yeah, not yet. But I mean, again, to me it's a movie that felt like Spielberg back at his prime, and I'm hoping that this movie would that Indiana Jones 5 will continue that. You know,
possibly, maybe. Yeah. I just think he's too old.
Right, right.
Charlie Palmer says, "What movies made you love the industry, and what reviewers do you decide on whether you'll watch something?" Love the show, guys. So, first part is what movies made you love the industry, and what reviewers do you use to decide whether you watch a movie? To be honest, I don't use any reviewers to decide whether I watch a movie. Like, I'll listen to a lot of reviewers, I'll read a lot of reviews, but I won't let that dictate if I go watch a movie or not. I don't know about you.
I mean, it varies sometimes. I don't necessarily let one particular critic steer me away from watching it.
Sure.
But sometimes if it's a movie I'm a little iffy about, and a lot of critics are kind of having the same like kind of general consensus about it.
Sure.
Then I'll start to get a little worried.
Do you like any reviewers or anyone that you look up to?
Well, one person who I kind of almost gauge perfectly to my movie taste is actually Scott Mans.
Oh, nice.
Like anytime he kind of puts out a review of something, I'm more than likely going to fall on his side. We fall on the same side a lot with like The Last Jedi or Spider-Man 3, which I like and he likes. So there are some weird ones that we end up like so sometimes if he says he doesn't like necessarily like a movie, I'm a little worried and hesitant about seeing it.
Got it.
But then again, I was on JTE's podcast, JTE Movie Thinks, and we were talking about Silence, which was the Martin Scorsese one that came out.
Yeah.
And I watched that for the first time a couple weeks ago, and I loved it. But I know Scott, one of the reasons why I didn't necessarily see it when it came out is because Scott said it wasn't the greatest, and I didn't want to go to ArcLight Hollywood and pay like $30 for it.
Yeah, the movie was out in like 2 weeks in theaters.
Yeah.
No one saw that movie.
Yeah, but now, again, so here's my advice. Don't necessarily pick a group of critics who you frequently agree with, disagree with, and kind of gauge what your thoughts are based on that. But ultimately, if you want to see a movie, just go see
a movie. Never let anyone tell you to not go see something unless you don't kind of don't want to see it anyways.
Yeah, but again, I've talked about in Schmo's No Show, when I was a kid, I couldn't really afford to go to the movies that much, so I would often rely on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff to like kind of help me determine. I think it's more of like a guide, a suggestion, than it is to actual make a decision.
Is there any other reviewers that you like that you want to give a shout out to?
Critic reviewers
could be YouTube, could be critics.
Yeah. I mean, for paper critic, Katie Walsh is one of my favorites.
Where's she from?
She's on. She used to be for LA Times, and now I believe she works for LA Tribute.
Okay.
But I've even had the pleasure of she came on my show platform at USC, and we were like guest panelists together, and we had a great conversation. But even before that, I was a big fan of hers. Amy Nicholson is another one I'm a big fan of.
Nicholson.
I've even told you about Amy. How much I liked her reviews.
Shout out to Amy Nicholson.
Yeah.
Meaning of podcast.
Yeah,
mix in with the canon.
The canon, that's
never know.
Yeah, and of course YouTube critics. I mean, of course the Schmoes and Chris Stuckman I still follow pretty well, and there's some guys who are really like making like new waves, I guess, with the video essays. They're not necessarily critics, so they don't really decide where I go to movies or not, but that's a lot of what I've been following too. The Cinefix people.
Cinefix is dope.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cinefix.
Yeah. So there's quite a few branches of criticism that I'm really,
if you can think of any more. One that I've talked a lot about, well, not a lot, but I've talked a little bit about is the reviewer from Vox. Her name is Alyssa Wilkinson. I think she's dope. The kind of stuff she says about movies is stuff that I catch and that like I feel no one else catches, like stuff in Mother and stuff in Alien Covenant that she liked and that I liked. Her name is Alyssa Wilkinson. I recommend following her. She's on Vox, VOX. Obviously, Schmoes on YouTube.
Jeremy Johns as well. I forgot to say
Jeremy Johns.
One of my favorites.
Peter Travers from Rolling Stone. I still like Peter Travers. I've been following that guy since I was like 10. Richard Roper. I still love Richard Roper.
I think of him more as a TV critic for me because I grew up on him, watching him on Reels TV. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Richard Roper is another guy I follow.
Richard Roper.
As far as YouTube, I like Patrick H. Willems. I think he does some cool stuff on YouTube. Patrick H. is dope.
Yeah, he's good.
Obviously,
more of a video essay.
He is. Obviously, like Nerd Writer and all that too.
Yeah.
Cinefx is gangster. I love what they do. Mm-hmm. I actually like GameSpot Universe. I told you about them.
Yeah,
it's it's kind of the newest channel. It's a spinoff off the GameSpot YouTube channel, but I think their crew, they have like a small little crew. I think they do dope shit. They talk a lot about TV, so they talk a lot about Black Mirror, which is like my obsession. So go check them out if you like them.
Leonard Moulton too, also. Great,
oh yeah,
great. Yeah. I have a question here from Twitter from David Rouse who writes. Number 1, favorite albums of all time. And number 2, thank you guys for introducing me to Your Name. I watched it yesterday and was blown away. It was a beautiful, incredible film.
Who is that?
David Rouse.
David Rouse, yes! Yeah. Your Name!
Yeah. It's first anime film I've ever watched, too. What are some others I might love if I love Your Name?
Oh, he's asking me.
Yeah.
Honestly, like the Ghibli movies are very similar to that in the sense of how much you'll get, but that's a tough one. A lot of people are mentioning A Silent Voice, which is a movie that I want to watch. So I would say maybe check that out. I'm gonna check that out probably sometime this week if I have time. But yeah, that's the Ancient Magus Bride is an anime that I'm watching right now. It's got that similar kind of uplifting kind of vibe that Your Name has, and it has a very like cool, twisty, intellectual vibe as well. It's about magic and it's about life, and it's about this girl who is jumped into the world of magic with this mage, this like ancient mage. It's called The Ancient Magus Bride. You can watch it on Hulu and Crunchyroll. So that's my recommendations.
Awesome. Favorite albums of all time?
Damn, dude, that's you. Go, because I'm like, I gotta think about that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big hip hop guy. Many of you may know, so I'm probably gonna pick a lot of hip hop stuff.
Yeah. I'm a hip hop guy too, though.
Yeah, you are. But yeah, so I mean, you're probably gonna add to this. For me personally, listen, I grew up in like I personally categorize my favorite albums as something I grew up with.
Yeah.
So for me, there's really 2 that come to mind, like almost immediately. Kanye's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Dude, you're a different generation than I am, dude.
Yeah.
For me, it's Kanye Late Registration.
Late Registration's up there. Late Registration is my second favorite Kanye album.
Yeah, Late Registration for me. I mean, to be honest, all of Kanye's albums. If I'm being honest, all of Kanye's albums. But Late Registration, Homecoming was a big one for me too. Kanye all the way for me with Late Registration.
That one, and to me, also Kendrick Lamar, Get Kid, Mad City.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's vivid memories.
It's so funny because this is all stuff when you're like, when I was a kid, to me that was like even after college.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kanye Late Registration is one of my favorites of all time. Same, like I just said, Homecoming as well. Thriller, Michael Jackson. Is
I mean that's like one of the great.
Yeah,
it's probably like the greatest pop album of all.
Yeah.
Like Prince, Purple. What was it? Prince with Purple Rain.
Yep.
Yeah. Another classic. I mean, there's some classic albums out there. I have another one from Drake Feems who writes, what's your favorite performance from Leo DiCaprio? He commanded the screen in Wolf of Wall Street, but Blood Diamond was better in my opinion.
Ooh, that's a good question. Do you have an answer to that?
For me, it's Wolf of Wall Street.
I was going to say, I think Wolf of Wall Street for me as well. Just because he had more to do in that movie than any other movie, probably.
Yeah, to me, it's, I like Leo as a comedy actor too, not necessarily doing straight up comedy, but using his dramatic chops to highlight his comedy in the same ways that he did in Catch Me If You Can. But he's also a great dramatic actor who's bring the intensity. And I think this is the movie that combines both of them.
Sure. I think he was also great in Django, though.
Django's
in it when he played Candy.
Yeah.
I think that's a great performance.
He gets that just off the fact when he broke the glass on his hand and just kept going.
No, but even besides that, he's really good at it. He's just really good
too,
at that.
Yeah.
So that would probably be mine. Kevin Layer says, can I just say that Cloverfield is an underrated horror film? Yo, Cloverfield is my shit. I love Cloverfield. I love the Cloverfield universe. What they're doing right now with Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane, and now God Particle is like, I can't freaking wait, dude. I'm like hype on this. Like ever since I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane and the kind of avenues they go within that same universe, to me is like dopeness. And I hope more people get a chance to check that out because I think the Cloverfield franchise is gangster.
Yeah, no, I think I totally agree. Especially about God Particle.
Oh man, can't wait for that.
Yeah, and it's
Can't
directed
wait.
by a Nigerian American dude. So it's obviously
It's
another
got David
person of
Oyelowo
color.
on it too.
David Oyelowo, Gugu Nathara.
Yeah, Google Bathura.
Man, just so
I
many.
can't freaking wait, man.
Yeah.
And also, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say something relevant. I completely forgot.
Okay,
Never
was it
mind.
about 10 Cloverfield Lane or?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
10 Cloverfield Lane. It was in my top 5 movies of that year. I remember because
I
we did that on
remember.
the Schmoes No Show. And then Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Shout out to Mary Elizabeth. I love her.
She's great in Fargo too this year.
you go.
Or in 2017. I have a question here from Chris El Gapo who writes, besides obvious toxicity, what is the biggest pet peeve with the online film community? I hate how overused the words masterpiece and pretentious are nowadays.
Okay.
So do you notice any like big trends or pet peeves that kind of...
I mean, I think pet peeves is fandom. Obviously, the whole Warner Brothers DC fandom and the Marvel fandom stuff. It's kind of unnecessary and stupid and lame. And I think it's just dumb because it's the same genre. It's still superhero movies.
Yeah.
And I think the whole mentality of if I like a Marvel movie, I automatically dislike a DC movie. Or if I like a DC movie, I automatically dislike all the Marvel movies. And also the Disney Marvel franchise becoming this kind of like joke in some sort of parts of the online community, even though they can make really good movies, in fact better movies than other big franchise blockbuster movies. I don't know, because for me it's like if I say there was a guy on, I think on Twitter, I don't know, he's probably listening right now, but for me it's like if I say I hate Justice League and I think it's a trash movie, he thinks, oh, you hate all the DC movies. No, I love Man of Steel. It's like, oh, you hate Zack Snyder. No, I love Man of Steel. I love 300. It's like, no, man. Trust me, I like what Snyder has been doing. Just because I didn't like a lot of Batman versus Superman doesn't mean I'm a Snyder hater. Doesn't mean I'm a DC hater. And just because I thought Justice League was trash doesn't mean I hate Snyder, and doesn't mean I hate DC. Like for me, it's like there's this weird disconnect of like enjoy one film and dislike another doesn't mean hate for the entire brand. That's just dumb and limited thinking. So that's probably my biggest pet peeve. Also, this weird kind of I feel like right now specifically there's this weird brand of hyper masculinity and machismo in the online film community against women in film, because a lot of this Time's Up, Me Too movement that's happening right now in Hollywood, a lot of online film people I've been noticing, specifically with like Star Wars videos and shit, they keep popping up in my feed of like, why women ruin Star Wars, and it's like, shut up, man. The best part of the new Star Wars is the women in the movie. So I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And if you think men are diminished in that movie, then you obviously haven't heard of Kylo Ren, who kicked ass in that movie. So I think that whole like thing is just dumb, and I think people have to wake up and learn that 50% of the population happens to be women. Whoa, shocking. I don't know, that's just a pet peeve of mine that I feel like the online community is really like going at it, and it's like, dude, chill out. Like,
yeah, no, I definitely agree. I guess that plays a line to the toxicity that he was talking about. In terms of like nitpicks, I mean, I'm guessing the way the question is set up, I guess he's talking more about like use of certain words like pretentious or like,
Yeah, I answered that question differently.
Yeah. No. I mean, that makes sense. But, for me, I've, particularly when pertaining to The Last Jedi, I think on both ends of the fence, it was bad. I think the way that fans were attacking critics for liking it was bad, but I also think kind of the way some critics were like biting back at fans was really like mean and nasty. And I think that a lot of people, names,
RB3.
No, not all. But I will say that a lot of times I see like a lot of like Twitter threads that are like, if The Last Jedi is about old white men, and not liking. How can you not like this movie? Like if you're a Star Wars fan, like you know what I mean? Like they're promoting this like division between like if you're Star Wars, like Star Wars: The Last Jedi is really a commentary about nerd culture. How come nerds don't like it? Like you're not getting the point. Like people have legitimate problems with this movie. I think the way people shut it off. I mean, I even just saw a thing recently that was like specifically blaming like YouTubers for like creating theories. Yeah, the film theories. Did you watch the video? That
I did.
Yeah. They put Schmoes Know in that, by the way.
They
that
did.
Was nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. Even
I think he had points. It's funny. I think his points countered his points.
Yeah.
He's like, well, theories make it fun and theories make it bad. And I'm like, that's kind of the point, though. That was kind of... I don't know. I think right now what's happening with The Last Jedi is that there's a lot of, like... There's, like, the issues we brought up were legitimate issues. And I feel like now they're kind of crossing over with non-legitimate issues. Like I just said, the women thing.
People lump it all together.
Yeah, and it's like all of a sudden, it's like there's this weird, like, anti-women movement in The Last Jedi. And it makes it seem like people who didn't like the movie are all of a sudden anti-women.
Yeah.
And the issues I had with it, I thought the women were the best part of the movie. That wasn't my issue at all. And the fact that Kylo Ren also kicked ass too. So men wasn't an issue either. So for me, it's like the issues I had with the movie are all of a sudden crossing over with this weird brand of like anti-women and this weird atmosphere that it's creating. And it's just, I don't know, it's pissing me off because for me, it's like, how stupid can you be? Like, really, if you're a fan of the original trilogy, there was a freaking women in that too. If you're fans of the prequels, there was women in that too. It's like, no Star Wars fan should be associated with this weird anti-movement, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what really makes me sad is that people like legitimately like tweet me. I'm sure you've gotten some tweets too. It's like, man, I've been a fan of Star Wars since 1977, and this movie just broke my heart from a storytelling perspective, which I get. Like, even if I don't necessarily agree or disagree, I mean, I agree that there are some problems, but listen, some people have some legitimate problems with it, and some people actually did grow up and depend on this as their childhood progressed. So being angry, I just don't want people, I cross the line is people who don't attack filmmakers. Don't attack the filmmakers. Don't blast Ryan Johnson's Twitter or David Ayer's. Like, as much as I hate Suicide Squad, I would never, ever tweet, at David Ayer, your movie sucks. No. These people work their years creating these projects and producing what they're putting together. And there's more than just one person involved. So just to attack people on Twitter like that, it's not fair to me.
Got you. Eric Ritz says, how excited are you guys for the Black Panther soundtrack?
Oh, this. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like, I have been listening to that track, King's Dead, with J-Rock, Kendrick, Future, and James Blake on there. I've been listening to that non-stop. Oh man, there's so much, like, just the opening line, missing me with that bullshit. Like, that's the perfect. As I'm telling you, like, Ace, this is.
I haven't listened to it yet. I'm excited.
Okay, so there's two. Listen, there's one rule I will never ever break in movies is listening to the soundtrack before the movie comes out. I'm not gonna lie, this is the first time I've broken that rule, and I am continually breaking that rule because I've listened to All the Stars and King's Dead nonstop. Even people hate that whole. There's like a Future verse in there where he's like la di da di, stop on my nub, like he does that. I love it. A lot of people are like shit all over it. I love it. I love all of it. Give me this, and even the fact that it feels more like an actual Kendrick Lamar song, like an actual, not necessarily, the J-Rock one is more of J-Rock than it is Kendrick, but the fact that these feel like actual songs that will come off of an actual album instead of like a movie soundtrack, that's what makes it better to me. So I'm loving it.
I can't wait to listen to it, man. Yeah. Who else is in that? Is Joey Badass in there?
I'm not sure if Joey Badass is on the soundtrack.
Kendrick's on it, right?
Yeah, Kendrick's on. I think he's going to be on almost all the songs in that, most of them. But I know he has one with Vince Staples that we briefly heard in the most recent trailer.
Dope.
Yeah, there's an original one with that. Like I said, the one with King's Dead that got J-Rock, another TDE member, Kendrick, and Future, and James Blake. And see, even with that one's so fire that's actually being the first single released off of J-Rock's album. And then of course All of the Stars with SZA and Kendrick as well. So
dope. Can't wait for that movie though, man.
My bones are tingling just thinking about this movie.
Oh man. That premiere though. That premiere.
Hey, listen, people. Tweet at your favorite YouTube personalities. Get me into that premiere, man. Let's get this started. I work hard. You know, I do this podcast. I help out a lot. Help me get to that premiere. Ladies and gentlemen, Black Panther.
Alexandra Ciampi says, what recent movies do you think were misunderstood by the critics or audiences? For me, it's Spring Breakers.
Ooh, Spring Breakers is a great one. Spring Breakers is great.
Misunderstood. I don't know. I mean, maybe a Ghost Story for me, just because I love that movie. And I feel like a lot of audiences, maybe. I think critics got it for the most part, but I think audiences might have been disconnected with it. For me, I connected with it, you know, like 5 minutes in, and I was in it. And I loved it so much, and it was a hard choice for me to pick between that and Get Out as my favorite movie of the year. I was super close to picking A Ghost Story because I loved it that much. So, yeah, that's me.
I got one from Matt here who writes, what films are you most hyped about from Sundance? For me, I think the Gyllenhaal family with Killing It.
Oh yeah.
With Wildlife and The Kindergarten Teacher. Can't wait to see both of those. The press for those sound amazing right now.
Yeah, the one I saw a little bit of that. I know that Paul Dano is directing a movie as well. The one I'm excited about is the one I actually tweeted about. So there's this guy that I've been following for a minute, since a while now, since I moved to LA. His name is Carlos Lopez Estrada, and he's a music video director. He directs the music videos for a rap group called Clipping.
Oh, really?
And Clipping is a rap group that includes Daveed Diggs from Hamilton.
Oh, really? Okay.
And Daveed Diggs is this. He's a rapper, actor. He's in Hamilton.
He's in Blackish.
He was in. There you go. He's in Blackish. Yeah. He was also in the Netflix show The Get Down.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's the main. Yeah.
But for me, I'm excited about that one because he's a Latino director, and I finally get to see a Latino director directing a movie, and it's kicking ass in Sundance right now. It's called Blind Spotting. And it's about Oakland apparently, and it stars Daveed Diggs, written by Daveed Diggs, directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada, who does a lot of really cool experimental music videos with experimental hip hop, which is kind of an interesting genre that I'm into and that not a lot of people are into. So it combines hip hop, it combines freaking rapping, it combines Latino filmmakers, it combines everything that I love. So I'm excited about that movie, and for me, it's like I can't wait to see Blind Spotting, and I'm glad it's getting a lot of attention because I feel that's what we need right now in Hollywood.
Yeah, I haven't personally been following a lot of Sundance stuff, but one that did just put out a trailer recently. That one with Joaquin Phoenix and Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
Don't worry, he won't get far on foot.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah.
With Dave Franco, right?
I think Dave Franco's in that too.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Is that the same one from Sundance, and like the trailer just came out for it?
I think so.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that only because Joaquin Phoenix is one of the great actors we have working right now, and plus Jonah Hill keeps proving himself more and more. I think.
Yeah. Are you confused? The one where he's like some assassin guy who like takes down like the sex trafficking?
No. I'm talking about the one where
that's You Were Never Really Here, right? You Were Never Really Here, I think is what it was called.
That's the one. Which one are you talking about?
It's one where Joaquin Phoenix is like some sort of like crazy assassin guy who gets hired by this businessman to take down a sex trafficking ring.
I haven't heard of that one. No. Yeah, but they put out a trailer for that one.
That one looks dope.
Oh, okay, I gotta check that one out.
It looks gangster. It looks so cool. Like Joaquin Phoenix as a freaking assassin. Hell yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, he kind of looks like an assassin.
He really does. That sounds dope as hell.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that. The one I was talking about is the one where he's in a wheelchair, I think, or Jonah Hill's in a wheelchair. And he has like a mental disorder, that kind of.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but it's premiering at Sundance, so I'm looking forward to it.
Cameron Schofield says, favorite joke from a 2017 movie. For me, it's my two comedies. I mean, it's my favorite comedy of 2017 is obviously freaking Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
So anything with Korg in it was dope. Everything with the hammer. It's like, my God, the hammer pulled you off.
Yeah,
it's like, did you ride the hammer? Like all that stuff for me was dope. He's like, hey man, I'm Korg. And then when he had what was his friend's name? That it was like Charlie thought the same thing about the whole revolution. That was dope. And then my favorite, I can't believe it, dude, but guess what?
What?
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 had the funniest shit for me. And I talked to my friend because I saw it with my buddy, and he didn't like this character in the movie at all. And I thought every line this character had was gold, like straight up comedy gold, and that's Drax.
Oh, really?
Everything Drax said in that movie made me like scream laughing out loud. Like I love the freaking the scene where he's like, "Oh, I don't like wearing that suit. I got sensitive nipples, man." And then at the end of the movie, he puts it on. It's like, "Shh." He's like, "Ah, my nipples," and then he like flies off. He's like, "My nipples." Like that just killed me, dude. Like everything Drax said in that movie, his relationship with Mantis was so. He's like, "Mike, you're hideous. What's wrong with your face?" Like everything he said was just killed me, dude. Yeah. So that's probably my favorite is Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, for me, you know, the hammer pulled you off is
that was
probably,
funny.
That's probably that one probably would have been. Also, gotta say, Donald Glover and Spider-Man: Homecoming with the with the "I like bread" line. I don't know why that just killed me for some reason. For no reason whatsoever. And then I mean, one of the big ones that people were going for is the girls trip one. Like, you can't get an infection in your booty hole. It's just a booty hole. Like, that was pretty funny. Even though, you know what? That's the thing, man.
I never saw Girls Trip.
Girls Trip. My mom watches that movie so many times. Like, she will literally just call me just to put on the scene where like that booty hole thing happens. I'm like, damn it, man, this is. I can't enjoy this movie as a regular film. You know what I mean? Like, it's too weird. But funny movie. I think everybody should.
I just saw Fate of the Furious. That whole movie's a comedy.
Oh, man.
That whole movie is a giant joke.
Hey, man, I loved it, man.
Oh, my God.
Don't talk bad about my Fast and Furious ace.
Oh, my God. There's a moment where, I forget what The Rock says. He says a line to Jason Statham.
Oh.
And he's, it's not the beat you like a Cherokee drum.
Yeah.
It's not that one. It's one where he's like, I'm going to kick your ass so far that you're going to be talking out of your mic. Yeah. And they're both like... And they're both like, nah! That was so funny to me because even they're kind of like, bro, that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And they start laughing about it. I'm like, bro, that guy killed Han. Seriously. He blew up his car. Justice for Han, man. Justice for Han. Like, how can you be like laughing and making jokes with a guy who like freaking butchered your friend and burned him alive? I don't know. That's my Fate of the Furious rant.
Oh, man. No, I thought that was dope.
Josh Richter on Schmobo says, do you think it's an issue that the Best Picture nominees aren't shown in wide release until the next year? Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of them do go into wide release on the next year. No, I think it gives you an opportunity for you to watch the movie a little bit closer to Oscar time. But I do feel like there is an issue with, I mean, we talked about it for the first hour of this entire episode, of just Oscar nominees in general, just not being seen enough by a movie-going audience.
Right,
so.
Right. No, I definitely, I agree 100% that I think that's part of the problem. And I think if they got these movies out sooner, I think it helps it's part of the marketing. Like I said, it's part of the marketing of that film to release it at that time and get off the Oscar hype for it. But I also think that if the movies were a little more spread out throughout the year, we see a lot of hype building up towards the Academy Awards. I mean, I think most general audiences are going to watch are going to be rooting for Get Out. And I think if Get Out cleans up, then, you know, it's gonna
help the Oscars.
Oh, that without a doubt.
I'm gonna bring up maybe like two more. Timothy Kurtzen says, with no one talking about him now that the award season has hit, are we all just gonna forget about James McAvoy's performance in Split? There's a lot of good performances this year, but he should be mentioned. I thought James McAvoy was awesome. I thought he was the best part of that movie. I thought the movie as a whole was pretty good. But as far as his performance in the movie, I think when he does Patricia in that movie, it makes me laugh every time. You know, remember Patricia?
Yeah.
When he gives like so many little feminine things in that performance. It makes me, when he does a little shoulder shim and he's like, yeah, of course. Oh, goodness. Oh, goodness. Yeah, of course. And he like moves his shoulder and it's so funny, dude, because he gets so feminine and he's like a woman. So it's like, it makes sense that he's like that character.
Yeah.
Speaking of performances, Jake Gyllenhaal in Stronger. Not enough people are talking about Jake Gyllenhaal Stronger. Not enough people are talking about that guy. That guy is GOAT. He's an amazing actor.
No, he's incredible.
Also, Robert Pattinson in Good Time.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know how much I love
He
that
probably
movie.
won't get a nomination. I still like that Daniel's getting attention, Daniel Kaluuya.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like Robert Pattinson and Jake Gyllenhaal, especially Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Now I have one from Skull to the Bowl, who writes, how'd you guys get your position? What's Rose?
I've said this story quite a few times, but I met him at Kamikaze, or LA Comic-Con now. And I basically just went up to them and told them that, if they were looking for someone, that I'm open to it. I went to their panel. I met him afterwards. I hanged out with them a little bit. And then a few months later, got contacted by Copster and then interviewed, and the rest is history, man.
Yeah.
I know you were a part of it from like Schmoville days, right?
Well, yeah. I was back when there was just a Schmoville Facebook page, and I was a big fan. So I hit up Christian because they had all those old podcasts on the Toad Hop Network that they just couldn't put on YouTube. So I figured out a way to put it on YouTube for them. And then so then I did that like in high school, and one day Christian reached out. Copster reached out and said, "Hey, do you want to come in for an interview?" I'm like, "Sure." So came in, interviewed, and
here you go, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now we're unemployed.
Yep. Shout out to R.I.P. Schmoes No.
No. We're with Schmoes No Show. We'll be coming back, I think, pretty soon. So.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. Obviously, as you can see, we're as you can see by our background, we're struggling financially, in the financial aspect. Anyways, guys, that was our episode of the Meaning of Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, you listened all the way through. If you did, you maybe got your question read on live Meaning of Podcast. And by live, we mean that we're not live at all. So I'm sorry about that. Anyways, shout out to 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Hey.
Well, eventually, we're going to watch that movie. Shout out to Call Me By Your Name. Maybe I'm going to watch that movie. All these movies that I haven't seen.
Call Me By Your Name. I do recommend.
Okay.
Call Me By Your Name.
All right. 3 Billboards. Screw you, man. You should not be nominated. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed that podcast. Let us know what you guys think of the Oscars, of the Oscar nominees that came out this morning, and what you guys think of our podcast. With that being said, I'm Ace.
This is RB3.
And that was a Meeting Up Podcast. Peace out, guys. We'll see you next week.